0. Hello, and good evening. Welcome to Muse Broadcasting, bringing you weekly inspirations intended to uplift and inspire as we flow through this new paradigm and shift towards a more harmonious way of creating and living amongst one another. My name is Katsura, and I am here in the Wenatchee Valley, Washington State. And as you can see, we have some new people, which is really, really exciting. It makes me really happy to see, and is really, really inspiring. That alone is inspiring. I'm really excited to hear more. And with us, you remember Heather Muse. Heather's joining us as well. Hey, Heather.
Hi, I have to remember to turn off my microphone. Hi, I'm Heather Muse. I'm joining you from Portland, Oregon. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see more people joining the global conversation on sharing wisdom.
Awesome. And Lacey has been able to join us before as well. Lacey, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Lacey, and I'm in the Wenatchee Valley as well, and I am excited to be here again and share some insights and hear how other people are viewing the world.
Cool. And you can't see Lorne, but Lorne is joining us today. He is going to be the mysterious, awesome voice. Lorne, could you introduce yourself?
Do I have to?
Well, you don't have to give us a life story.
That's always the hardest question. That's always the hardest question for any of us to answer is, who are we?
Yeah, I know. What is who are we?
That question can either be answered, but do you want to know my past or who I am right now?
I guess, who are you in this, in the most present moment, right now? Or, not even who are you, but, just a little bit about you.
In this moment, I'm feeling shy and excited.
Cool. Very cool. And I like that. You're in British Columbia, right?
Yes, Vancouver.
Cool. And Lacey, how about yourself? A little bit about your present moment self.
I'm grateful that I was able to finally align and sync up and join the join the Muses, the musings, the meanderings of the mind that we have been attempting to link and inspire, I suppose. I am me. I am living in the present moment. I am seeking a connection with Source and seeking to share that connection. That's it, pretty much.
Awesome, yes. Oh, totally, way awesome, yeah. Asha, it's so wonderful to have you. I'd love to hear a little bit about your present self as well.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
It's our honor.
Gosh, I don't even know what to say. I just sort of dove into this and see what happens.
Cool.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to exchange inspiration with all of you and see what unfurls from that.
Awesome, yeah. And that's one of the purposes, if that's the right word, goals, intentions, is to offer support to one another in the projects that we are doing, in just being ourselves in musings and offering inspiration as much as possible. One of the ways that we start off the Muse broadcast is by sharing what Muse means to us. Whether it's, it doesn't have to be super detailed or long, but just whatever kind of comes to mind when you might think of Muse, mind and heart, I'd like to say. And then also a little bit about inspiration, what inspiration means to us. And Asha, can you start? I'd love to start with you this time. What's the Muse to you?
What is Muse to me?
Yeah.
Oh. I guess it's such an abstract concept. I'm a little caught off guard. I feel shy all of a sudden.
It's okay. I think one of the things that I like about Muse is that it means different things to different people. Different people have an idea of what a muse is, and I think that everybody is taking a little bit of a piece of a concept of how they experience what a muse is and creating their own definition. So it feels like that's what we want to continue, is maybe a little collaboration of defining what it means to be a muse, or what it means to see a muse or be inspired by a muse or have a muse. So, I don't know, maybe Katsura, if you want to share yours first, then we can have an example.
Totally. And and I've been able to really think about this for a while now, from doing these broadcasts, as well as when Muse was first, the door was opened to me by Heather, actually. Heather really opened that door for me, and thank you. And once I started thinking about it, I kind of was like, oh, I feel like I do that. And the Muse basically just helps others wherever they are in their present moment to think of more ideas, to like kind of search within themselves, within their souls, and to come up with more truth within their hearts, and to express that and share that with people. And the Muse doesn't really do it for them. It just kind of happens through communication with one another. And this is a part of that, trying to remember that. And by remember that, I mean, for a little brief history of Muse and what muses were. They're part of Greek mythology. I think it's Greek history, not necessarily mythology. Greek history. And there were 9 goddesses, daughters of Zeus, and each one had a different kind of, I guess you would say, talent, thing that was most common, and that was the ability to, either through music, poetry, dance, science, astrology, help with bringing inspiration in different realms. And so Muse is kind of like opening the door into allowing dreams, not allowing, but the fruition of dreams come true. For mine there.
Or inspiring dreams, really.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, is that how it is for you? Like someone who inspires dreams?
For me personally, Lindsay, yeah, absolutely. That's why, actually, I've written tons of poetry along this line. And it is absolutely, one of the, like I say, source, and from the source energy is what inspires me, flows through me onto the canvas, through the pen onto paper, through my vocal cords, through air. It is my source of inspiration, and when I share that possibility with other people. You can reach this internal source of inspiration through actually seeking your own connection with source energy, or God, as a lot of people say it. I thought up this acronym for God as in guiding our dreams. What is dreams? They're inspiration. It's exactly what we're speaking of right now. So, yeah, absolutely. It is.
I love it so much.
Yeah,
I love it.
powerful.
And I love making up acronyms for everything. Anything that's meaningful to us, especially things that we use the word of a lot, to make up our own acronyms. You're a genius. I love you.
You're a genius. Yeah. Thank you. I love you too.
Yeah, that reminds me of the acronym that I made up or it's not even that I made it up, it's like it was inspired, and acronyms usually are inspired. Just like poetry, it's like a word puzzle that just comes.
Absolutely.
And so it was Masters of Universal Service for Enlightenment. Muse.
I like it.
And that's kind of how I feel like. Thank you. That is actually how I feel like muses are, in my world anyway, are people who are masters or become masters at what they do, what they're passionate about, what inspires them, and they're doing it purely in service. Through giving inspiration and sharing inspiration, it feels like that is a path to enlightenment. So it's all based on emotion. There's no facts.
Absolutely. I've always. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from Lauren too, to hear a male's perspective on Muse.
So my first experience with a Muse was with you last week, Heather. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and what was most important to me, and when you asked the question now, what is a Muse? What came to me was when, literally before I sort of said the word that came to me was allowing. And to be a Muse is to allow, because that's all that any of us need, either from another or from ourselves, is to allow. To allow what is to be.
I like that. Opening the door.
I love it so much.
Letting the door be open.
Who allows and who helps
to allow. Because what is, if allowed, is always love, always. And it's without allowing that we experience resistance and all the things that we're talking about that keep us separate from each other. So, again, Heather, you were my first experience of someone who called themselves a Muse. And what you did for me was you allowed me to be in your presence. You allowed aspects of my being to express themselves in your presence. And so, yeah, so what you gave to me was a space that was very allowing.
That's so beautiful.
Thank
you. Heather,
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I love being able to see your perspective through your eyes. So thank you for sharing with us, Lauren. That's really important to me. Yeah, to allow, to inspire, to bring inspiration, to serve, all of these things that we've said. I don't know, Asha, did you have an idea that came to you about what a Muse might be for you, or have you had something that acted as a Muse for you in the past?
I loved everyone's personal experience and what muses were. I really enjoyed everyone sharing just now immensely. I would say I resonated a lot with some of the things that had already been said. I feel as though a Muse is particularly receptive to source energy, and by doing so radiates that creativity that opens doors to other people and allows them, like Lauren said, to just be in a totally free space where they can. I believe a Muse is in service to help cultivate what already is within someone in a very full spectrum color kind of way.
Wow.
For me personally, in my own life, I am most happy when I'm in service inspiring people to heal. I think that's when I feel most connected with myself as a Muse. I don't generally use the term, but it's very special.
That was what really was touching here. That's one of the things that I believe that to be inspired and to be able to really create and make our dreams happen and come true. If we're hurting, then that hurting, or if there's something just that has not been worked out, then that can hold us back. And so before we can really even inspire, a big part of musings is to heal, is to bring that healing through, so the inspiration and the creativity can follow suit. Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Healing and inspiring to heal. It's really resonant for me too. So thank you for bringing that about. And I see so many muses in those roles of healers or, inspiring people, motivating people to better themselves physically even. So that is another aspect of holding the frequency of inspiration at this point in time on planet Earth. I really feel like it's important for us to hold those vibrations so that we can help uplift one another and help each other and train our minds to be brighter and better and kind of in a more sunny disposition, which will help attract a more wealthy lifestyle for all of us, energetically, emotionally, and physically. So thank you, Asha. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And we got Lacey back on.
Yes. Yes, my computer died. To me, Muse, like I've said before, Muse is lighting the fire within others. It's inspiring others to be their best light and to have that passion and that drive to change the world. And for me, I just feel like healing is totally a part of that. It is lighting the fire within others so that they can be the healthiest and happiest possible. So, yeah.
Then I just got a message. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so often some of the most beautiful experiences I've had just being holding space for people is illuminating this idea that they can heal. I mean, that's probably been some of that exchange of Muse energy by just sitting there with them and this radiance off of them of, you mean that's possible? And they share this light with you in that moment that inspires my art and my writing. It's I love the reciprocity.
Can I share something on it flows from what Asha just said?
Yeah, of course.
Just before this call, I was on Skype with a friend of mine in England, and we were sharing, and what came up for me was that it's hard for me to trust. I mean, I can look and act like I trust, but yet there's this deep, deep feeling of not trusting inside of me. And I've said those words before, and then I said the words that were like really new to me. And the words were, I'm afraid that I never will. I'm afraid that I'll die before I experience what trusting actually feels like. And then when I heard what Asha just said about holding a space for somebody to see that healing can actually happen, that really touched me, because that's the space in that moment when I shared that I wanted to experience. That trusting was an actual possibility for me, not just a concept, that it was realizable, and that's an energy that exists inside of me that I believe that others can help me experience, like in the presence of others when I'm feeling not trusting, because I started to not trust in the presence of others. And so in my practice, in my perspective of life, me coming back to trust, me coming back to all of the things that I forgot in the presence of others, I want to remember them in the presence of others who reflect back to me love, trust, You know, that to me what the new paradigm is about. It's not about a shift in the world. It's about me looking outside of myself and seeing another, reflecting back to me the beauty that I am right now in this moment. That's what it's about for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The shift within.
Yeah.
As within, so without.
Yeah. So there's a real, you know, so this, you know, like you are small in number, you know, like right now, and what you're doing has the potential to be really, really healing. And hear me as a male. Hear me as a male, because I'm the voice of males right now. And I'm speaking for me alone. We are not excluded. It's really, really important that men see that women's sacred circles are inviting us into them. That as long as the circle is closed, the separation that we really, really want to help heal, like have your circle and invite us in.
Oh man.
Yeah.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
I have got to say this. I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about, someone mentioned it's a pathway to enlightenment, and I thought immediately, one of the things that I have been striving to do is reach enlightenment through transcending gender. I don't want to feel male. I don't want to feel female. I am a spiritual being having a physical experience. I'm female because I have boobs on my chest. But men have boobs, they're just between their legs. You know, they just hang between their legs as far as I can tell. You know, I'm just saying, to me, it's the same thing. And I absolutely 100% agree that a sacred circle is a sacred circle with whomever you want to invite in, and that in order to have true peace and true equality, men and women have to intermingle and circle together. It's not a female circle or a male circle or anything. Gender is just a gender because we have to procreate. We can't just regenerate or whatever, like some amphibians can or whatever. It's just a procuring of the future generations, really.
Yeah. I love this conversation about gender. I absolutely do. I'm one of the commitment that's the closest to my heart that I've held on to for the longest is my commitment to balance. And that's even commitment to be balanced between male and female energy, because everybody has both those energies in their body, in their psyche, in their emotional body, in their spiritual body. Yeah, like you said, exactly like you said, I absolutely honor you for saying that. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And at the same time, because of the society that we work in and the way that we've been raised, where we're being raised as this gender or as that gender, and you're being taught to do this or hide your feelings or don't do that or don't say this or whatever, or that's not appropriate. Because we've grown up with those and we have that now in our psyche, I also think that it's a very useful tool for women to come together and support one another and learn how to co-collaborate rather than fight with one another or be competitive with one another, which is what we've been taught to do. And then also for men to come together and be able to support one another and be open and transparent with their emotions in front of one another, which they have not been able to do even by themselves, much less with one another. And then I believe in the third collaboration of bringing all genders together. And I do think that everybody is going to identify with a different gender, and that's totally fine. Like if you identify this week or today as a fully male gender, or you feel like you really need to work on your male energy or whatever, join the male group. But that's what it's about. It's for people who have been taught all these male idea things, and they're trying to deprogram themselves. So that's how I see the usefulness between men's group and females group, and a combination of.
Yeah. I feel as though I agree with you, but at the same time, I feel it's like, to me, like, we have the labels. The labels is what binds us. Like, people are left-brained or people are right-brained. When we have both sides of the brain, why not use them both? Hello? It's just, to me, it's ridiculous. I don't feel like there should be, I understand what you're saying, but it's like, push further, push harder. If there is an ability to heal, then that healing is instantaneous. All you need is that belief. There is no gradually moving into, okay, we have this group. No, it's instantaneous. There is no waiting around for the healing. Jesus was a great healer. He said, get up and walk, believe, hello, go do it. Open your eyes and see. It's instantaneous if you believe. And that's where we are. We're rising, and we are in that moment. We are in that dimension where it is instantaneous. The shift is within. As within, so without. If you believe, then it is done. It is so. That's it. There should still, peace, love, unity, respect is now. There is no, if we're going to be in a group, we're going to be in a group. There is no exclusion, men over here, women over here, and if you want to be over here, then you be over here. No, it is now. The women and men, the yin and yang is within.
Yeah.
It's now.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we're inviting men and women to join us on the global conversation, because I want everybody together supporting one another and sharing our wisdoms.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
So then, and then that also, okay, Katsura, did you have something?
Sorry, I got passionate on that one.
Luke was interested in joining, and he's available now, so I'm going to make that quick call to include him on this topic.
Okay, great.
It's cool. One thing I was thinking about, like, with the males and genders, that there's a female within all of us. There's a woman within all of us. There's a man within all of us. There's a little girl within all of us, and there's a little boy within all of us. And it's a matter of facing all of our characteristics, all of us as a whole. And once we face all of us as a whole, and we are comfortable with the man, the woman, the boy, the girl, then we can really express most fully, express most openly. And I mean, I totally see that.
Hello there.
Oh, never mind. And that ability there to express as beings. And then one thing, because we were talking about, and like this is all interesting, kind of being brought up, and like where we're in the direction we're going with the Muse broadcasting. Because for a while we were thinking about doing men's and women's and then females together, but as it's growing and adapting, it's kind of like I was saying, it's kind of saying like, hey, here we are right here, right now. This is our time to be unified, to not segregate so much. And if something like that kind of happens naturally, then let it be, but not push in one direction or another. And then I really like that, like that there. And then also it's kind of like was making me think of the topic of intimacy a little bit. And then, and if we kind of go off in like female groups or male groups, does that either create less intimacy, or does that create, are we able then to be more comfortable within, like say as females, we're together as females and men are together as men, does that, and I'm so glad you're here, Lauren, so we can get your insight, does it help us to then be more comfortable with men, or are we is it once we are actually in that moment, then are we most then does that grow that comfortability?
I want to talk so much right now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please talk.
Thanks. Okay. So, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I just know I really want to. We do everything backwards. We focus on differences. Like, what's the difference between a man and a woman, instead of just focusing on how similar we are, and in focusing on the similarities, that's the place where we'll find the love and the comfort and the healing, and maybe by God's grace, when we really see how similar we are, then we could ask the question, what's the difference between a man and and a woman instead of like creating separation right from the beginning. Like what I'm telling you is, and I've been working on this inside of myself and with others, and have had the privilege of spending weekends with women intensely for 3 days where I've been the only male. This separation wants to stop. Our hearts want to come together, and oneness isn't a concept, it's truth.
Exactly.
And we are arguing about differences rather than coming together and celebrating our similarities. And from that place, from the place of love and comfort and peace and familiarity, that's where healing begins, not from a place of like, I'm different, so I'm going to shut you out, and I'm going to find safety in shutting you out, and I'll invite you in when I'm damn well ready to, and you go off and do this. I don't want to go to a men's group.
I love it.
I don't want to go to a men's group, and I want so much to stand in a circle of women and say, I'm here. I'm here, right in the center of your being. I'm here. Allow me to be where I already am.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Lauren, and thank you for being here so presently. And thank you for your wisdom that you're sharing with us. And we're not asking you to go to another group. You're all
No. Like, I'm so grateful being here. I'm so grateful being here because this is where I get a chance to express who I am. This is, this for me is about me, and this for me is about me being here together with you. And my invitation is to be with me inside of me and let me inside of you, so I can be with you inside of you, not separate from you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And I mean, another thought here with that, and welcome, Luke. We're talking, our conversation has flown into genders, females and males. Love it. And then one thing we talk about too, a lot with muses is the energy that we help to share is source energy. Another word for source is God. And to have that God union, it's usually three. It's a masculine energy, it's a female energy, and that makes that third final energy there. And what brings back to the point of one of the importance of the unifying, the bringing together the genders, and that's awesome. And kind of to answer the question earlier, I totally think in the process of being more intimate, it's good that we're able to just to be out there and not create the segregations, and to come together as females, as men, and just see where it leads, and unfold. And that helps us to... Go ahead.
Yeah, I have an idea of something that I want to speak about, and I want to make it a little bit brief so other people can speak on it as well. So the idea of intimacy and what it is, and that being intimate with somebody is really being vulnerable and transparent with them and completely 100% present with them. And I think part of what has made men and women uncomfortable with one another in the past is that we were not connecting, we were not understanding one another's hearts. And so if a woman was trying to be, or was being just authentically intimate with somebody, then it was automatically assumed that meant that sex was going to happen, or that they wanted to be physical, or they definitely wanted them in a romantic way or something. And that hasn't only just happened between men and women, it's happened between men and men, it's happened between women and of all different genders. And I feel like it's really important for us to be able to feel safe being intimate with one another and not have any expectation that means it has to be anything physical.
Thank
it's really
you.
important for the growth and well-being of our society.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
I agree.
But we do have expectations. We do have expectations, and to deny that we have expectations immediately creates a false sense of safety and separation and boundaries. So what I believe is be upfront with the expectations and be upfront with the boundaries that you think others should have around you. So all these things that we think the other should know, we take responsibility for that. If you want the other to know, then tell them. We have been so separate and so alienated, and there's been so many rules about what should and should not be. And right now I'm feeling being afraid of, because I'm the male, like I feel like I'm the bad guy in this conversation. Honestly, we don't know. Like, we haven't been conditioned to know. From the time we were born, we were showing images of women that objectified them, and want developed inside of us before we can discern. And all of that condition is a part of our experience that we bring into all of our experiences with women. And I'm not using this as an excuse. It's just like, that's what's there, and it's not being addressed. It's generally addressed as something that men should know, get their act together, and go away until you do.
May I say?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think that I agree with you. I think that clear, concise communication is definitely imperative in dealings with the opposite sex, especially men who might not be on a level such as yourself. I think that women who are basically born with an intuitive emotional radar, when dealing with one another, almost instantaneously can tell, oh, this person's attracted to me, and then there's that boundary immediately set or crossed. But with men, it's somewhat different, because they're taught to, as you said before, to not honor or acknowledge those emotions. They have to be stoic in a man to be recognized as a man. But there are men who are balanced and who have sought their emotions and who are intuitive. And I think that's where we're leading towards, because if oneness is not a concept, it's reality, then oneness, the whole thing about oneness is that when we fully do reach that, telepathy is an inevitability, because there are no boundaries and everybody is open and vulnerable. So that's the deal. But once you get there, and once people are there internally, there won't be those ickies that get on you when you are intimately sexual with a person who isn't fully realized, and or fully open to the oneness concept, or fully open and flowing with source energy with every single person in their reality. So I think that's where you're going with that. To me, I understand what you're saying, because we do fluctuate between the different levels because we have that ability. And we fluctuate between those different levels because we want to pull people up to the higher levels. And we inherently know that we're not going to be playing around with the lower base levels on a sexual nature. But those people immediately get a rise around us because we have a higher vibration. And so if we don't vocalize it immediately, they're going to always be consumed with the idea, oh, this is a potential. I'm going to get this person into bed, because they haven't vocalized it, because they aren't aware of their own emotions and their own intuitive connection, and that there's a boundary there. And we're really only there to help raise them to this concept, I think is what you're saying.
I love it.
With something real quick.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Earlier in the conversation, we were talking about are women's groups necessary, and I think we're all in agreement that the essence of becoming is that instantaneous believing, but we can't disacknowledge the process in which is subjective to every individual's enlightenment. And I think this conversation, the direction it's gone, is kind of reveals that, where we we've acknowledged now a distinction between a man's evolution and interaction with women and how that plays in with intimacy. So I would actually say, a devil's advocate for a minute, that men's groups are perhaps in more need than women's groups right now, where they can share sacred space and bounce off of each other to evolve. Yeah. And I don't think we can brush that aside, because there's need for it, and if there's need, there needs to be response.
Absolutely. I definitely feel that too, and thank you for feeling that compassion into your heart for men and for their needs at this time. Maybe we can hear a little bit from Luke on that as another male voice that just joined the conversation. Maybe he's not there anymore.
Are you talking to me? Hi. Hi, I've got myself on mute.
Were you with us in the conversation?
Yes, of course. I've got myself on mute because I'm in a high traffic area right now.
Okay, is it possible for you to chime in, or is it better to skip you right now?
It's kind of a busy moment.
Okay, guys, we need to get going.
Yeah, it would be better in about 15 minutes or half an hour, 20 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. If you get a chance to chime in, that's cool. If not, that's okay too. We just love hearing more male perspectives.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, my time is going to open up greatly in about 20 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Thanks, I'm glad I noticed. Okay.
Yeah. So I would like to gently bring this back around to the intimacy topic. Like, how can we, because it feels like just the fact of us having this conversation is automatically putting barriers between males and females and showing us as separate from one another, because that's just how the topic went, and there's nothing good or bad about it. But I'm wondering, how can we just decide to be more in unity from this point going forward? And how can we be intimate with one another and show that kind of compassion with one another, just as purely in balance, maybe, you know?
I think one of the biggest things... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think the big gateway opener is a very gentle reaching inside ourselves to be forgiving that everyone has a process, which sounds like a really simple statement, but it really opens up all those boundaries where you say to someone, you're human, and you have, whether it's instantaneous realization or perhaps for them a years-long process, just being understanding to that makes it safe for people to be intimate. And I just feel like that melts the conflict that we experienced before, like that seeming division. I think that kind of melts it away when we just say it's okay.
Yes. And it's really interesting because I really feel like this kind of naturally goes in with communication, and how I strongly believe, like, we talk about oneness, we all want oneness, and we are on that same page there, and then it's a communication process in which sometimes I feel maybe we are talking from a place of protecting our hearts or protecting our beliefs, even though the final, end journey is the same. And how we get to this journey is okay. How we get to this, not even a destination, but how we get to this final dream is the same. And so through this process of communicating, it's a matter of letting down the need for protection. I can't speak for everybody on this, but I speak for myself sometimes when I feel like something gets stirred up. And so then I wanna protect my views and thoughts, and when I believe, like, this is how it should be, and then I realize, like, I need to let that shatter. I need to let all the what I think as we're having these new conversations, just let it shatter, let it be, and then absorb this absorb these ideas and let it form into a whole new energetic field where we can communicate most effectively and remember and stay in our heart space and allowing that openness and that open channel in which to unify. And so I think it's once again dropping the borders, the protection, and allowing that intimacy that as we want it so bad. And sometimes I don't realize that I'm holding myself back from it until it gets brought up, and I'm like, oh wait, it's good to let it be. Forget what I once thought, and then have compassion, have understanding for the different ways in which we have been conditioned at certain points in our life. Lacey, what do you feel? We haven't heard it in a while.
What's that?
How do you feel amongst all of this?
I didn't hear the question. Just you're breaking amongst all of what?
So we're talking a lot on genders, females and male genders, and then the unifying, and then how we have different groups, and the possibility of maybe men creating more male groups, and how do we allow ourselves to be openly intimate and connect without letting the past borders bring us, separate us? How can we keep the unification process most firm and be strong in that intimacy?
Well, I think that first of all, you have to be open. You have to be open to the possibility of intermingling with the opposite gender. I mean, for me, it's kind of been a tough road to connect into my male self because I'm very female. So in a lot of ways, but I have connected to my male self recently, and I feel a lot more whole. And in connecting with that, we can understand the other gender a little bit better. But we also have to establish clear boundaries with the other gender. We're not looking for sexual anything, really, that we just want to connect spiritually. And the people that are with the program, I guess, would probably respect and understand that as it is anyways, and be ready to connect. So I feel that maybe moving forward, just establishing clear boundaries and just connecting to that other half of yourself and kind of ignoring gender at all, and just seeing them as a person and as a spirit that you would like to connect with, and that way I think that the paradigm shift that's happening will go quicker if we can all work together. I mean, I realize there are some differences with men and women, and sometimes I feel like women progress. No offense to any men, but I feel like women can progress in a quicker manner when it comes to certain things, and we just all have to be on the same level, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So then, I would like to get, if possible, kind of a male, one of your guys' perspectives on, because I'm curious, as a female, what can we do to best keep it open, where we can comfortably be open, we can comfortably be intimate, and be forward, and be very, very honest in what we are feeling and how we are feeling. Hi Heather, good to see you again.
Hi.
And what is something, because I know, like, as a female, sometimes, like, and this has actually happened recently, in which And I like this when Heather brought up the conversation in the group and on the event page as well with the privacy. And once that privacy is kind of that private area, that border has been crossed, and it's hard to, once like my private zone, and I mean this like on an energetic level, has been crossed, and I feel like I need to put my walls up because I don't like how someone is approaching me, speaking to me, then I kind of shut that person out like a lot. How can we avoid that? How can we avoid the shutting out of people if that zone has been crossed? And how can we prevent that from happening? Is my question. I don't know if you or Luke could speak upon this, Lauren.
So one of the things I think that everybody really needs to ask themselves is whether they believe they actually can be hurt, like for real, whether there's such a thing as the kind of hurt that is permanent, or whether hurt itself is part of the illusion that keeps us separate. And I think asking that question and how you answer it will speak a lot to how you treat another and how intimate you will allow another to be with you. Because if you believe the truth of who you are can be hurt permanently, that's going to really, really have a filter to go through in terms of how intimate you will allow yourself to be with another. If you believe the truth of yourself cannot be hurt, no matter what, there's a spaciousness that arises in living that way. And if your practice is, when you forget that, to remember that as quickly as you possibly can, so that becomes your practice, that your practice becomes that the truth of who I am can never be hurt. And when you see yourself moving away from that, if you practice that, you'll spend more time in that place. And that in of itself is the most intimate relationship you can ever have. That's the relationship with perfection itself. That's the place where there only is oneness, because there's nothing that can be hurt. So,
thank you.
So Lauren, are you saying the most intimate relationship you can have is the relationship with yourself, the intimacy you have with yourself?
And from that place experiencing the other, from that place experiencing the other.
I just have to say that I absolutely am in love with you right now, Lauren. I feel like you took the words from my head and expressed them through your larynx, and I just thank you. I thank you for your being.
Thanks. That makes me close to crying right now. So that touched my heart. Thank you. When I was talking about
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm in awe. I'm in awe.
I also like what Lauren touched on earlier about transparency. I feel like really, if we really are serious about having intimacy with one another, then we need to have that commitment to full transparency and full openness of sharing what is going on for us and what's going through our minds. So almost like there's no filter, you know? And I feel that that's the best way for me to interact with people and have them see who I really am, and they trust me more too, because I'm being completely open with them.
I get in trouble for my non-filtering. I mean, because I'm just saying, I get in trouble because I call people out. Like, I'm like, ooh, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, didn't mean. I guess you weren't ready.
That's being authentic.
That's a filter in of itself.
Yes, that's a great point.
Lindsay?
Yeah.
That's a filter in of itself. The filter of calling somebody out on their stuff is a filter.
It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't, and it's not even necessarily calling them out on their stuff. It could be calling them out on their beauty, it's just exactly, and I never know what I'm going to say. It just all of a sudden word vomits from my mouth, and I don't have any time to formulate the words. They just come, and it's exactly what needed to be said. Like I said, if I'm seeking an active connection with Source, then, I'm being utilized as the hand of God. And what God wants this person to know, it's coming out of my mouth no matter what. I can't help it. And I get in trouble for it sometimes. And sometimes I make friends, but it's just what happens. And I don't condemn myself for it. I know that it happens. I wouldn't change it for the world, because I've met some really awesome people. Especially those people who I might say something that would irk someone else. This person is like, yeah, I know, I've been working on it. They've become my best friends, because that shows me that they are not living in ego. They are not living in denial and defensiveness over my inability to filter. They're like, I have the same problem, girl. What's up? And we help each other. We then become each other's teachers and students at the same time. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I say I get in trouble, but I get in trouble,
I prefer to see them all as gifts.
Yeah, that's your beauty. Because it would be good if more people were able to do that and speak their mind, speak their heart, and what is there the most prevalent. And that's a part of, I see that as having a part of, like, your walls down. You're not afraid of what is going to happen. You just know, like, you are speaking from that connection you have with Source. And as you are speaking these truths, that has a huge potential. If someone is accepting, to be open to that and grow from it. And that is what is needed. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
I'd even take it a step further. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, as much as I do believe in peaceful communication, and for the sake of this subject, I'd even take it a step further and say that someone's aversion to what you have to say is just as necessary for their growth as anything else. I mean,
absolutely.
Plenty of times. Yeah, when someone shed light on me and in that moment because of my process or whatever I was going through, I wasn't ready to receive it. But a few days later, even years later, it hits me like this glorious wave of Source energy. I was like, oh, how about that? So it's all
right, absolutely.
Necessary.
Absolutely. I know. It's like, and then those people that say, are you sure that's me? Are you sure you're not reflecting yourself? And I'm like, ooh, good call. I'll have to take a look at that one.
Maybe we all are always reflecting ourselves back to one another. And I think that Lauren also had something to put in on that. What was it that we accidentally cut you off on, Lauren?
I think it's really important, like it is for me to be aware of when I'm saying something is truth, whether it's my ego truth or that which I believe is eternally true. And I also think it's very important for me to be aware of what I'm thinking and feeling and believing, and what I'm intending to do with what I think and feel and believe, because all those things change. So awareness for me is really key. And if I stay aware, then more often than not, what I share is coming from that which is eternally true, or me talking about myself, me talking about my struggle, my pain, my feelings of separation. I want more and more to be able to own my own experience and talk about my own experience when I'm in the presence of another. I used to think that telling somebody I didn't like what they were wearing was truth. And I don't do that anymore. And I don't do that coming from a conscious place, because I know when that feeling of wanting to tell somebody I don't like about something about what they're doing, that the greatest benefit to me is to bring that inside of myself and ask myself, what am I judging about myself in this moment? What is inside of me that's causing me to feel separate and feel so uncomfortable with something that so uncomfortable that I don't want to meet it, that I would rather act it out and tell somebody else something about them that I don't like. And again, in God knows I do it. I don't do it very much anymore. And I used to do it really, really a lot.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting because I do that a lot, but I have found that and I don't know if it's just the people that I'm choosing to.
Oh no.
Oh no. She'll come back.
That was a pregnant moment.
Yeah, we lost her. But Asha and Lindsay, like I want to make sure that we're not also cutting you off before you have a chance to get any words out of your mouth. Did you have any points or ideas that you wanted to throw in there? If not, that's okay.
I keep coming back to this this idea when it comes to intimacy, and I've recently kind of experienced a hiccup with someone who considered themselves a light worker in terms of goodness, intimacy was hard with them. And ultimately what I concluded after this bizarre clashing to me was really, and I wrote about this recently, we can express our self-love boundaries, but our particulars are our own issue. And you deal with rational problems as they come up, but when it comes to that okay space, the best thing we can possibly do is be okay that our particulars may not always be in harmony. It's a big world. And even, we think about intimacy on this one-on-one thing so often, and then we think about internal intimacy, but there's such a huge interdependence to consider. And that's kind of where I just keep going with this, because you can shed light on something and also be okay that it exists at all. I don't know if I expressed that entirely. It was a big thought process for me while I was quiet.
Yeah, thank you. So I see where you're going with that. So when true intimacy makes us really one with one another, and that there is no separation between us. So true intimacy is really being intimate with yourself because of the unity process. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, you can be intimate with yourself and you still have a physical existence. So you express, this is where I'm at. I believe in clear communication, but recently, because of an experience, just by this person had expressed to me that I was stepping on their toes, and I was not in a position to stop stepping on their toes. Try as I may, couldn't do it, can't do it right now. Gosh, I hope they don't mind. But just by taking the extra inch and talking to her about it, just letting her know that I respected where she was coming from, and I wasn't able to accommodate at that moment, but my heart was still in it, and I was not trying to invalidate where they were coming from. And so I think we can express these things to people without pressing ourselves on them, pressing our own ego. Even if we're coming from source, it's really important to not press our own existence onto other people, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I feel that strongly. Having compassion and understanding with one another when we're interacting too. Like being open and transparent, but being open and transparent with compassion. I see that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
Lucy, I don't know if,
I'm here.
Hi.
Hey.
If there was something you wanted to add there, Lacey, I wasn't sure, but I wanted to give that opportunity.
I resonate a lot where Asha's coming from. You kind of have to, I feel I do have no filter in some light. When I feel like something really needs to be said, I will definitely say it. But I feel as if before I say it, I kind of look at the situation and what is happening here, and whether it needs to be said, if they'll even it'll even make a difference, I guess. I mean, sometimes things make a difference, but it's not always a positive difference. So you want to, I guess, sometimes it's good to be careful about what you're saying to others, and for love's sake, just because you love them, maybe sometimes you should say something, but at other times you shouldn't say something out of love, and and you just, it's very important to me to make sure and speak words that are going to help someone in a positive light, rather than to just, say something because I don't like it, and they're just gonna have to be okay with that, and maybe they need to look at something. I just feel like it needs to come from a place of love and mutual understanding as to what the other being is expressing, I guess.
So maybe by if sometimes through oversharing, then maybe. And not that, I don't know how we judge appropriate time, inappropriate time. I guess that's when we listen to our intuition and what our heart is saying to us. And at that time, I lost my train of thought for a moment there. I guess that keeps our intimacy open, more open. If by saying things, listening to our hearts, listening to our intuition and what that has to kind of, what it's saying as it speaks to us, then that will keep the door open for intimacy and to, have that greater connection and to keep that flowing there at that point.
Like Steve Korda said a couple muses ago, whatever makes your heart grow bigger. Whatever makes your heart grow bigger, and then if it makes your heart go smaller, then no.
Yes, thank you for reminding us of that. That was such a great quote from Steve. Yeah, whatever makes your heart grow bigger, follow that. Yeah, and I was thinking that for inspiration work for myself, we like to maybe take on a little challenge for ourselves and not call it homework, but call it inspiration work, because it's inspiring to us and others. For myself, I just thought that I would like to take on the challenge of seeing how I can bring more of the unity consciousness into my everyday life. So how can I really be one with people, with my situation, be present as often as possible, and just keep asking myself that in life and seeing where I can act on it.
Yes, I would love to do that with you. And then I was kind of thinking also what I think would be like an interesting inspiration work when Lauren brought up really having a strong, intimate connection with ourselves. And our own being, and being so strong in that. Nothing can nothing can tear that down, and it is always strong and firm in its place. And if being more intimate on a personal level, if that helps the unity consciousness, by saying it's okay a little bit more to what's the word, just be, to truly be. And I know it's always okay to truly be, but sometimes we get held back with, well, I think I should do this, or I think I should do that. And Lauren actually was mentioning this a little bit earlier about getting lost, I think it was Lauren, getting lost kind of in the mind and being more in the heart. And if we're building that intimate relation with myself, with ourselves, if that helps that unity there, that unity consciousness, which I like, and then allowing that to be more prevalent, more vibrant in daily life, in daily inspirations and musings.
Yes. Was there any last thing that anybody wanted to add? Maybe Lindsay, since you got cut off the last time.
Thank you. I was really just saying I needed to hear what Asha said about the compassion for others, but what Lauren said about there is no hurt if you understand.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we've lost Lacey and Lindsay. Oh, Lindsay's back.
And Asha, maybe? Or
Asha's still here.
No, Asha's still here. Okay.
Just fighting with.
I'm so sorry. This is. Oh my goodness. So let me try to say this before someone else tries to call me again. So having compassion for self is most important, which is the intimacy for self. Because if you understand and stand in your true nature, then you must have compassion for self. When I was saying, I was about to say, I'm hanging out with the wrong people because I have fear of making a mistake because they're all looking up to me because I speak truth. And then I can't make a mistake. I can't stand in my humanness. But I am human. I'm physical. So having compassion for self is most important, and understanding that I am human, my ego does come into play, and especially my spiritual ego, and just know that I can atone, amend, and move on to the next moment, so that's all I really wanted to say. I'm sorry I had to speak fast because...
No, it's okay.
I know this. I thank you for inviting me into this conversation and into this group. I love you all. May you have great tidings and blessings in your life. Good night.
Thank you.
Love you too. Please come back and join us again.
Nice. One thing she's brought up was spiritual ego. I hear that. She brought up spiritual ego, and I thought it would be kind of interesting maybe for the next Muse broadcast to speak upon spiritual ego a little bit.
Or just to speak about ego in general, because I think spiritual ego will be included in that. But also, dropping in the question, what is a healthy ego? What does that mean? Or what is ego in the first place?
Yes.
So that I think we'll be talking about that a little bit next week. Yeah, for sure. So intimacy with ourselves. Having compassion with ourselves, having a connection to higher source, and seeing how we can embody the unity consciousness in our everyday lives. Well, that's where we're at this week, and we will be reconvening next week. Is there anything that we need to state before we close?
There's no such thing as closure.
Thank you. Yes, folks, bad timing for me today. I'm glad to have listened to you. Hopefully next week we'll be having a more awesome coordination for myself to be included.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, I'm glad that you could come on and listen anyway, Luke. And we're looking forward to hearing your voice next week.
All right. This is at this moment I'm actually opening up, so I have free time. So the timing was just not right today.
Yeah.
At least I'm drawing closer. This is the first one I joined in on, and we'll have a gradual sharing of experience here, I guess.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Luke.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to wish everybody love and light in your journey towards authenticity and in your commitments towards holding the frequency of inspiration in the world.
Yes.
Huzzah.
I love you all, and we
fun.
can speak again next week and continue the conversation then.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
I love you all so much. Thank you for inviting me into this conversation. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved bouncing off of each other.
It was an honor to have you.
Thank you, Asha. I love you. I hope to see you again next week.
And thank you, Lacey. Thank you, Lauren.
Good night. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Lauren. Good night.
Thank you, Heather.
Good night.
Farewell, all.